It's almost midnight, Watchers. Are you ready to join the Midnight Watchers to talk about their favorite strange and scary movies?
Welcome, welcome. This is episode 12, and I'm Koji.
I'm Quentin.
And I'm Jennifer.
And this is the second of a back-to-back for us, so it's really, really exciting. But I forgot to mention in the first episode, or episode 11, which was my fault, but in episode 12, I do want to congratulate Quentin and Jennifer for the award for their web series that they had done. So Quentin, why don't you tell us a little bit about the web series?
Oh, it's not it's two separate things actually. So I won the Roddenberry Impact Award for a project with my professor Elizabeth Wilson called Demos. It's actually not yet written, so they basically picked it by concept form, and so it's an Interguild Award from the Roddenberry Foundation, and if you can apply with your PGA, WGA, DGA, and SAC, and they pick 10 projects and 10 teams out, and they give you each $10,000 to basically develop the project.
Got it.
But Jennifer and I are working on a TV series called a web series called Commisery, and it's being released every Monday, and we've released up to the 4th episode now. And we're shooting the 5th episode this Friday, and then it's going to be released Monday, and the whole season will be 8 episodes.
And where can people watch it?
Commisery.tv. So COMISERY.tv. Follow that link, and it'll bring you to the most current episode.
Have you been watching, Koji?
I have not yet, but I've been meaning to watch it. I'm going to watch it all. Don't worry. I'll watch it all.
I think each episode's like 10 minutes. Yeah, and we're up to 4.
Up to 4, yeah. So
yeah.
We're shooting 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're done.
So by the time this comes out, I think all of them are going to be really close to being done. So by then you could watch everything in order. So that would be really great to watch. And I'm waiting to I hate stopping. So I like to watch kind of 6, 7, 8 all together. So I'm going to try to wait a little bit. So by the time this episode comes out, I'll definitely have watched the whole thing. But congratulations to both of you guys. This week we're going to be talking about Strangers Pray at Night. So here's a little bit about the movie. Mike and his wife Cindy take their son and daughter on a road trip that becomes their worst nightmare. The family members soon find themselves in a desperate fight for survival when they arrive at a secluded mobile home park that's mysteriously deserted until 3 masked psychopaths show up to satisfy their thirst for blood. This was originally released on March 9th. The director is Johannes Roberts, writers Brian Bertino and Ben Kitai. Box office, I'm surprised by this number. They'd actually made $32.1 million in the box office. It was budgeted $5 million. And I do want to say one thing. It keeps saying it's based on actual events, and I was really confused on what those actual events were. And apparently, according to the writer-director Brian Bertino, it was the source for inspiration was the real-life Manson family murders in 1969 of Sharon Tate and friends. And I thought that was a little bit of a stretch because that was too totaled out. Like what happened in the movie and what happened to Sharon Tate are
actually the original movie, the part 1 was based on real life murders, which is I don't think it's a Manson family, but it's some murders in Detroit. They merge a bunch of murder crimes together, but it's so the first part is Strangers called.
Okay.
And that was actually a box office hit. So that made like $82 million. Okay. And that's why they made the second part, Pray at Night, which didn't do as well, but I like this movie more, I think.
Why don't you tell us why you chose it and why you picked it?
I think the whole concept of Strangers is really just about these 3 killers. You don't know why they just show up, because in the first movie it was just like these 3 people came up and terrorized this couple. I forgot who. It's like I think Kate Beckinsale was in the first one. Just terrorizing couple and killed them. And it was actually, the movie itself was in sort of this distribution hell for a while. They held the movie for I think a couple of years before they released it. Finally released it, and surprisingly it was a hit. It was made for $20 million, then it did 82. So obviously, the right director gets to do his second movie, which is Strangers Pray at Night, and I wasn't gonna watch it, to be honest. I was like, oh my god, it's like I really didn't like Strangers, so I didn't want to watch it, and there was just not any kind of quality genre movie out, going through Amazon, and then somehow it's streaming for free. So okay, well, I'll give it a shot. So I give it a shot, and I thought, oh, actually, I really enjoyed it, because I think what made it different from the original movie was that the first movie is like a family, and they're like, and you seem to kind of care. I do care about this family with the kids and the mom, and versus in the original one, it's just like this two kind of yuppie couple that show up at this house and they get terrorized. So but I think it's based on a true story. So you guys can talk. I'll research a little bit.
I was researching, and that's what in an interview he said. Strangers Pray at Night was inspired by the family and the Manson murders. That's what he said. But Jennifer, tell us what you thought of the movie.
Okay, first of all, I'm glad we watched this because I forgot that there was a sequel, because I totally saw the first movie. So I saw the first movie back then, and I remember that there was a scene in it that to me was like one of the scariest scenes in a horror movie that I could remember. And it's the shot. It's the scene, I think, when you first see like their paper sack or whatever potato sack mask things, and it's Liv Tyler, Quentin, right? Not Kate Beckinsale. And Liv
Tyler. I got them confused all the time.
I know. Like the fair skin with the dark hair, yeah. And then, but there's a scene in that first movie, okay, where it's a wide, and instead of using like like a jump scare or something, you just see this thing suddenly appearing, right, all the way in the background, like a little white looking, like a little face, right, the mask guy or whatever. And it's used in a wide shot, so you just kind of see it in the background. And so to me, I swear, however long ago that movie was made, I still remember that. I don't remember much of the movie, I just remember I thought it was great. And this movie used the same thing. A lot of the mediums and wides where you saw the weird figures in the back. And I think you're right, Quentin, like this movie was earned because the other one did so well. But I don't know, you said it was better than the other one. I didn't care about the family. The only one I kind of cared about was in this new one, in Strangers Pray at Night, was the son. For some reason, I don't know if it was his performance or something, but I was like invested in caring when he was, getting injured, almost killed, like the pool scene and stuff. I don't know, I didn't care. I felt like the story building up didn't pull me in. But I
think my problem with Strangers is just that it's like the whole idea is that you don't know why they're doing this, and there's no reason. They just, these three people masked will just show up and kill and try to terrorize you and kill you. And that's what's supposed to be scary, right? But somehow I couldn't buy that concept. And I think with the family, I feel like, well, I can identify a little bit more. And I felt like, wow, I think the movie took off for me when the mom was killed, because I wasn't expecting the mom to be killed so early. So, and then I thought, oh, okay, and I really cared about these teenagers trying to survive it, versus like back in the original movie, I didn't care if any of them lived. It's just like there's a yuppie couple being terrorized, and I don't know why they are so dumb being terrorized by these masked people.
Yeah, that was I didn't really care about the family. I thought it took a little bit too long to get into the story. Once the mom died, then it kind of like it started moving forward. The thing that really bothered me about this movie was the how stupid everybody was. Like the son and the daughter were, they're walking around. The son was like screaming the girl's name, and all I could think was, have you not watched horror movies? Have you not seen, have you not seen these things where you're not supposed to walk around screaming? Especially if you know that there are people out there.
But the girl wasn't screaming, right?
No, the guy. Sorry, the son was. He was yelling her name, his sister's name, and it just kind of bothered me because I kept thinking like, they're doing everything wrong in a horror movie. Not that I've ever been in this situation, but I hope that if I'm ever in a situation where I'm in a scenario that's like a horror movie, that I wouldn't make these cliche kind of moments, right? That I would be a little bit smarter than that. But maybe it just kind of bothered me because I didn't love this movie because I just couldn't really get into it that much. I didn't really like the characters. I did like the scary mask, and I kind of like the scariness of that. That was my favorite part. But for both of you guys, what is kind of the scariest moment, or what is the moment that you guys remember most from this movie?
Yeah, this one I actually wrote stuff down. So I thought the sort of male killer guy with the sack in the car when he kills the dad, because it was close ups and he was kind of like the way his eyes were moving behind the potato sack thing. That scene was really great, I thought. I loved that. And then that was probably my favorite like kill in the movie because I felt like the whole movie was just lots of killing and chasing. And then I liked that swimming pool location. I was like, where is that place with those like neon? Yeah, so those are kind of like my highlights.
I guess, yeah, my favorite moment is probably the sequence is probably when the swimming pool sequence. I just thought it's so kind of stylish and Americana to have this in this kind of like motel being pursued by this killer, and he's coming out of the pool and stabbed him, and it was fun. I think I like that sequence. I also like the sequence at the end that where the killer is kind of like not dying and chasing after her, and she kind of set him on fire, kind of thing. But it's a really stylish kind of like way of making a movie that I didn't see in Strangers Part One. I think Strangers Part One was not that stylish. It was just kind of whatever. It was more realistic than stylish, right?
Yeah, I love the car scene too, especially when he played the music, when the killer plays the music and he turns it up or he changes the station or something where about the music and he kind of hangs out. And it reminded that was one of my favorite parts, just listening to kind of that. I think it was kind of 80s-ish music, if I remember correctly. It was something kind of nostalgic, and that was kind of a fun moment. But I remember two other moments as you guys were talking. I remember two other moments where I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like when he had a shotgun to the other guy, or he had a gun to the one of the killers and he doesn't shoot him. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you like why wouldn't you shoot him? And then I think in the pool scene, I just remember like he wasn't going faster. I just remember being bothered in that moment of like, why isn't this guy trying to get away better or faster or something? I can't remember off the top. I can't remember right now. I should have read it down like you, Jennifer. But I just remember being like, you need to try harder to get away. And it reminds me of the one thing I always tell people about disasters or any kind of major moment is that a lot of the biggest thing about survival is the will to survive. And if you don't want to survive, you're not going to survive. So like in a major, in a major big event where, a lot of people die, it's not a lack of food or water or shelter that will kill us, but it's a lack of will. And I think that, the thing that's one of the things that bothered me about these characters. I just didn't feel that like that will to want to win, want to survive, want to kill. But that was my rant about about this movie. My apologies for going on that rant. But Jennifer, it looks like you want to say something. What do you want to say?
Yeah, no, great point. I forgot about the 80s songs. It was like 4 or 5 times, right, guys, in the movie where they play during a really
Is it the same
dark
song?
moment.
Remember,
No. Oh wait,
no, it's a
maybe
different song,
once
right?
or twice. Yeah, maybe a couple times. But there was definitely a couple different songs. I remember bopping my head. Sorry, there's construction going on, so I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, a couple different like Taylor Dane maybe song, and I forget the other ones. But yeah, I love that contrast. And you're right, Quentin. It was much more stylish than the first one, than the first movie. But I was gonna ask, now that we're in this, I want to ask you guys, being filmmakers, like, what is the reason that Brian Bertino, I think is his name, right? Why did he write this one but didn't direct it? But he directed and wrote the first one. Like, why is it a director doesn't get involved with the next movie? My opinion has always been it's because they think it's not good enough, or they don't like, they don't have the control they want or something, and so they just want to preserve the original movie. But Brian wrote this one. So did you think it was just a scheduling thing and he couldn't direct it? Like, what's your opinion?
It's hard to say because I think probably most of the time the studios want to make a sequel, right? And the director may not want to make a sequel, or they have some creative kind of like disagreement or whatever. Just even with the first film, they took so long for it to come out, right? It took like I'm sure like it was very hard for the filmmaker, and they're trying to recut it, and it's just like this whole process is just very difficult. It's funny, I just watched what's that movie? I just watched the Terminator movie. So apparently, like the last Terminator, the Dark Fate, that James Cameron came back on and was co-writing or something, right? So that made the movie so much better than then after Terminator 3 and 4, that it's just he's not involved. But the studios are still insistent on making that, right? They're gonna have to make the sequel regardless because they invest so much money in it. And James Cameron just didn't want to get involved in 3 and 4. So it turned out to be they're not so great movies. So they probably got him back to do something.
Side note, did you like that newer one? I was curious. I was wondering if I should give that
You know
one a
what?
watch.
I enjoyed it because at least it's. I just don't recall there was a lot of action in 3 and 2 and 3 and 4. I thought 1 and 2 was like totally blow your mind, and 3 and 4 just okay. And I just remember the last at the end of 4, they were just there in this cave. They're doing some announcements, and I forgot what happened. Like, but at least this one in Dark Fate, it's like there's a lot more action and special effects. That's really kind of like keeps you entertained.
Great. So do you think, I mean, I haven't seen the first movie. I haven't seen Strangers, the first one. Is it worth me watching, or should I skip it? Do you guys think?
I mean, if you like the concept, then you should watch it. I mean, the concept is just basically these 3 guys just show up and there's no reason for that. They just go and terrorize you and your girlfriend for like an hour and a half. I just found the first one to be a little bit claustrophobic, and also it wasn't as, there were like fewer characters, and they couldn't kill, because one of the fun thing about watching like a slasher movie in general, which is slasher was basically, this is a slasher film. It's like American invention, basically from, I don't know, the first slasher film is probably Black Christmas, right? Black Christmas. Black Christmas. It's a Canadian movie set in 1972. Bob Clark made it, and it sort of began this whole slasher genre. There's a serial killer on the loose, right? And then the Italian did the giallo, and it's in the 70s, starting with like Dario Argento and a bunch of people, Mario Bava. The giallo, and it's kind of like it's another Italian slasher, and somehow they combined. And then what brought it into the mainstream was Friday the 13th, 1982, where it was such a hit that everybody was making slasher films from 82 on non-stop until it started to die off, and then Scream came back. Scream kind of brought it back. It's sort of like 1992, right? Exactly 10 years later, it sort of like reinfused this slasher genre with this new blood. And then Strangers is supposed to do that, right? Strangers is like 2004. It's supposed to kind of reinfuse this genre with kind of cleverness, but somehow it didn't quite do that, A Nightmare on Elm Street is actually a slasher film, basically. So again, like Wes Craven is a guy that actually started off from like Last House on the Left in 1972. Then he made, actually, so what the other movie I was thinking of bringing up to compare is The Hills of Eyes, which is, not sure if you've seen, in 1976, Wes Craven made it. It's about a family that goes to vacationing in like some place like Grand Canyon, and there's this cannibal family going after them. And then it got remade by Alexander Aja, that made, I forgot his name, AJA, that made Haute Tension. So Haute Tension, again, it's like it's not a slasher film, but it plays on the whole slasher genre. So really, it's a very American genre, this type of like a horror film. And Strangers is just kind of like it's kind of like you don't know why that's so new. Why did Strangers, the first one, became such a hit?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth a rewatch. It's just hard for me to remember if it would hold up and still be the original Strangers, still be as freaky, because you know how sometimes you watch a movie and when it comes out at the time, it's going to have its most impact for some reason. And then there's other movies, right? You can rewatch it decades later and it's still timeless or holds up well. And so that's what is interesting, is which movies are more compelling when they first come out. I feel like maybe, from what I remember, the first Strangers is a little like that. Like if you went back and rewatched, but I remember at the time being very, very freaked out by it. Yeah, and you've already been exposed to the masks that are in this movie, and so you've already seen it. And in the first movie, it was scarier, I think, because like when I saw the sort of those clownish masks, it wasn't as scary.
Wait, the second one has clownish masks?
Well, those So there was like the potato sack mask in this
But that was in the
movie.
first one, right? No.
I think it was. Yes, it was. And then, but both movies had the clownish masks, right? Like kind of the V for Vendetta mask looking. What is that thing called? The anonymous mask, like
Just theater mask, I think.
theater mask. Yeah. So
Theater
I think
mask.
it's in both, right? Because for me, when I was watching this, I was like, oh, I've already seen those masks, and they were scarier to me the first time. Unless I'm mistaken, and they weren't in the first one. I thought they were.
Yeah, so I probably won't be watching those movies, but I'm excited or that movie. But I did like The Hills Have Eyes. That was one of my favorite horror movies. I think it was one of my first horror movies I ever seen, the original one. But and I did like the modern one as well. But I think we're getting to the end of this episode, and I got to cut the first episode, because it's out tomorrow. So I need time. I need to get the videos and everything out, and for everybody to be able to watch. So we're gonna end this episode here at this moment. But again, once again, please rate, review, subscribe to our podcast. Please come on our social media, Midnight Watchers Pod, on Facebook and Instagram, and write a review on Apple Podcasts and let us know you did. And also, please, if there's a film that you see that you think we need to see, a Midnight Watchers film, or a midnight film, sorry, that we need to see, please let us know, and we'll definitely try to watch it in the upcoming episodes. So do you guys have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I just think maybe we should go back more to classics, because I want to recommend watching Carrie again, because I think Carrie is such a well-made movie that really does hold up all these years. And the new one was not very good, I think.
Yeah, I love Carrie. We could totally do that. Jennifer, you have anything you want to say, or are you good?
No, this was great. Thank you, Koji, for doing the last minute editing and processing. And yeah, looking forward to our next episode.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Quentin.
Thank you,
Jennifer.
guys. See
And
you.
have a great day, guys, or night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.